A small town in western Nigeria, a mother's love knows no bounds. But what happens when love is blind? When the very thing meant to nurture a child becomes the force that destroys him. This is the story of Tobi Adeyemi, a young man with endless potential, yet lost in the darkness of unchecked love. As his mother spoils him, Tobi's world spirals into crime, pain, and regret, leaving a family divided and a future shattered. Join us as we journey through a tale of love, heartbreak, and a lesson learned too late. This is The Son She Couldn't Say No To. In the heart of Eloro, a quiet town in western Nigeria known for its dusty roads and the echoes of old Yoruba proverbs, lived the Adeyemi family, a close-knit household of 6. Babatunde Adeyemi, a strict yet honest civil servant, ruled his home with firm discipline and quiet pride. His wife, Mojob, was the opposite, soft-hearted, nurturing, and almost too forgiving. Together they had 4 children: Connor, the first son and pride of the family; Tobi, the second son with a charming smile and a dangerous stubbornness; Funk, the intelligent and motherly third child; and Sod, the youngest, quiet, observant, and deeply sensitive. From early on, it was obvious that something was different about Tobi. While Connor obeyed every instruction and did his chores with joy, Tobi always questioned, argued, or conveniently forgot. Babatunde would try to correct him, cane in hand, eyes filled with fire. But the moment the cane was raised, Mojob would burst into the room. "Ahoy, Baba Tobi. He's just a child. Why do you always want to beat him? Leave my son alone. Mojob, this boy is growing wings. If we don't break them now, one day they will grow into horns." But she wouldn't listen. She'd scoop Tobi into her arms, whisper comfort into his ears, and stroke his head like he had just escaped a monster. Tobi would flash a smug grin behind her back, watching his father walk away in frustration. By the time Tobi turned 10, the cracks were already showing. He once stole and won 500 from the family offering bowl and lied about it. When Sod, then only 7, saw him and tried to report, he slapped her and warned her not to talk. The family was shaken. "I will deal with this boy today," Babatunde shouted. But again, Mojob stepped in. "You want to kill him because of ordinary N1 500. Maybe he was hungry. Did you ever ask if he was okay?" That night, Babatunde slept in silence. The respect he had for his wife was slowly giving way to worry. He started to see the future he feared. Auntie Yemesi, Mojob's elder sister, visited that weekend. A wise and blunt woman, she sat Mojob down after dinner and said, "I know you love Tobi, but what you're doing is dangerous. You're not loving him, you're damaging him." Mojob scoffed. "Auntie, you don't understand. He's not like the others. He needs extra love." "No, my sister," Auntie Yemesi replied. "What he needs is correction. Love without boundaries is poison." But the warning bounced off Mojob's ears like water on hot stone. By JSS 3, Tobi had become a known name in Adedoyin Secondary School, not for academic excellence, but for trouble. He was often in the principal's office for skipping classes, bullying classmates, and even selling exam answers. He had formed a small clique of wild boys led by one Oseji, a dark-skinned, wide-eyed teenager from Benin who spoke little but moved dangerously. Principal Mr. Alade, a no-nonsense man with deep lines on his forehead, summoned Babatunde and Mojob to school one day. "I'm worried about your son," he began. "He's smart, no doubt. But he's using that intelligence the wrong way. Last week he was caught with alcohol in his locker. He has become a bad influence on other boys." Babatunde's face burned with anger. But again, Mojob spoke first. "Maybe the other boys are influencing him. Tobi is a good child. Sometimes people misjudge him." Mr. Alade sighed. "Madam, if you don't do something now, one day your son will become a headline." That headline began to write itself the following year. Tobi, now in SS1, joined a cult group secretly founded by Oseji and some older boys. They called themselves the Red Fangs, a name that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who knew. Tobi, bold and unafraid, took the initiation like a warrior. That night, he returned home with bruises and swollen knuckles. "Who did this to you?" Mojop cried, running to clean his wounds. Tobi lied. "I fell while playing football." She believed him. As always. Tobi's siblings started noticing the change. Connor, now in his second year at the Polytechnic, came home one weekend and found Tobi smoking in the backyard. "Tobi, are you mad? You're smoking weed." Tobi shrugged. "So?" Connor slapped him across the face. Tobi charged back like a dog released from a chain. The two wrestled until Babatunde separated them. That night, Mojop warned Connor never to touch Tobi again. "He's your brother, not your enemy," she snapped. Connor's heart broke. "Mommy, it's like you don't see what's happening. This boy is changing into something else. I will not allow you people to turn me against my son," she shouted. By the time Tobi wrote his WAEC, he had failed most of his subjects. Babatunde was disappointed but not surprised. Mojop, still blind with love, begged a teacher she knew to help him manage that least 5 credits. He gained admission into a third-tier university in Ogun State. It was there that Tobi became a demon. He climbed higher in the ranks of the Red Fangs. He stopped calling home except when he needed money. He began moving with hardened criminals. He'd lied to his parents that school fees had increased, that he needed a new laptop, new hostel payment. Mojop, even when broke, would borrow or beg to meet his needs. "Don't tell your father," she would whisper, sneaking him envelopes of money. Babatunde didn't know half of what was happening. But he suspected enough. Funk, now working as a nurse in Ibadan, called her mother one day. "Mommy, Tobi just texted me asking for N200,000. He said it's urgent." Mojop replied calmly, "He's facing challenges. Things are hard in school." Funk paused. "But mommy, I sent him money last month. How much does he need in school?" Mojop's voice changed. "You people should leave my son alone. If you don't want to help him, say so. Stop questioning him like he's a thief." The silence on the line was heavy. "Mommy," Funk said softly, "one day, you will wish you listened." Back in school, Tobi became worse. He started robbing students, blackmailing female undergraduates, and extorting small business owners around the campus. He became so feared that even lecturers avoided him. His roommate, Emika, once confronted him about stolen items in the room. "Guy, why is there a lady's handbag under your bed?" Tobi pulled a knife. "You want to die today?" Emika fled that night and never returned. Meanwhile, Pastor Dameji, a close family friend and old secondary school teacher of Connor, visited the Adeyemis. He tried to talk to Mojop. "Sister Mojop," he began gently, "I had a dream last week. I saw Tobi, chained, crying blood. You must pray. And discipline. Before it's too late." But Mojop, ever defensive, replied, "Tobi is not a bad child. He's just misunderstood." Pastor Dameji sighed deeply. "Then may God help you understand him, before it's too late." And then, it did become too late. The year Tobi turned 22 was the year everything fell apart. He had spent 4 years in the university, yet there was no clear sign of academic progress. He had repeatedly failed courses, missed exams, and was once suspended for inciting violence on campus. But every time a letter arrived from school, he would intercept it, burn it, and feed Mojop another lie. "I'm almost done, Mommy. Just one more semester," he'd say, flashing that charming smile that once melted her heart. And like always, she would believe him. Meanwhile, Babatunde had become a shadow of the man he once was. He barely spoke at home anymore. His health was failing, his salary delayed, and his frustration mounting. He had tried everything: discipline, counseling, prayer. But none of it reached his son. His only solace was in the success of his other children. Connor was now working with a construction firm in Lagos. Funk had opened her own clinic in Ibadan. And Sod, the quiet one, had recently gained admission into the University of Ilorin. They had all grown, all except Tobi. Tobi's life had taken a darker turn. He now lived off extortion, blackmail, and fraud. He would drug female students, record them naked, and demand money to keep the videos off social media. If they couldn't pay, he threatened them, sometimes beat them. He started moving with older criminals off campus. That was how he met Alhaji Kazim, a former drug dealer who had turned into a street kingpin. Alhaji liked Tobi's boldness and took him under his wing. "Tobi, you be correct guy," Alhaji would say. "You get liver. If you dey with me, your pocket go always full." From then, Tobi began to rob more seriously, targeting shops, hostel blocks, and even people withdrawing at ATM machines. He had dropped out secretly but told his family he was in his final year. His siblings grew suspicious, but his mother remained blind. One day after they went to his friend's place go drunk and wanted going back home. It was late evening when Tobi followed a lady named Mrs. Ronk Solomi, a 7-month pregnant woman, returning from her tailoring shop. He had seen her cash out money earlier at the bank. Thinking she had more in her purse, he trailed her into a side alley. But when she saw him and ran, he chased her into an abandoned kiosk. She screamed. He panicked. In a terrible moment of madness, he raped her. She bled. She screamed again. But by then he had fled. The community buzzed in anger. Ronk was rushed to the hospital, her baby barely saved. Her husband, Mr. Femi Salami, a lawyer known for his loud courtroom voice and fierce sense of justice, made a vow at her hospital bedside. "I will make sure that bastard rots in prison, even if I have to spend every kobo in my account." He filed a police report. He hired investigators. A sketch was made, and Tobi's name began to circulate. People whispered. His cult brothers told him to lie low. But Tobi was arrogant. "Who go talk say no me? I cover my face." But one of the cult boys had secretly taken pictures of Tobi and the victim's bag. He sent them anonymously to the police. A hunt began. When the police came knocking, Mojop fainted. No, not my Tobi. He's innocent. You people are lying." Babatunde, tired and heartbroken, didn't even speak. He just sat down in his armchair and stared into space. The police didn't find Tobi that day. He had gone into hiding. His siblings called daily. "Connor, Mommy, this is what we've been saying. That boy is cursed. Funk, if you keep shielding him, he'll destroy us all." But Mojop refused to press charges. She even tried bribing one of the officers to drop the case. It didn't work. Mr. Salami was too powerful. With the police closing in, Tobi made a wild plan. He would kidnap his own sister, Sod, who had just returned home for a short holiday. His logic was twisted. If he could get money from her husband, he could flee the country. He contacted 2 cult members, Oseji and a ruthless new recruit named Skido. They watched Sod for 2 days and struck one evening as she returned from the store. She was gagged, blindfolded, and dragged into a van. She fought back, even beat one of them, but they overpowered her. Tobi used a fake voice to call Funk. "We have your sister. Bring in 2 million if you want her alive." No police. Funk was stunned. "Who are you? What do you want with her? Just bring the money." But Funk was smarter than him. She recorded the call, traced the number, and worked with the police. Within 24 hours, They traced the call to an abandoned warehouse outside Abeokuta. When the police burst in, they found Saw tied up and bruised. She saw Tobi trying to run. He had removed his mask. Her scream pierced the air. "Tobi! You kidnapped me." He was caught. He was carrying a loaded pistol. A pistol connected to a recent murder in a street robbery gone wrong. The fingerprints matched. The case was sealed. The courtroom was silent as the judge read the sentence. Tobi Adeyemi, for the charges of armed robbery, rape, kidnapping, and first-degree murder, you are hereby sentenced to death by firing squad. Mojop collapsed in the courtroom. The heavy iron doors slammed shut behind Tobi as the warders dragged him into the cold, damp cell at the Ayatoro Maximum Correctional Facility. His hands were cuffed, his feet shackled, and his once proud shoulders had begun to sag. For the first time in his life, fear sat on his chest like a rock. The news had spread like wildfire. Tobi Adeyemi, son of respected retired teacher Babatunde Adeyemi, sentenced to death by firing squad. The local newspapers splashed his face across their front pages. His cult members abandoned him. His so-called connections went silent. No one came to visit him in the first month. No one, except his mother. Mojop showed up on a rainy Tuesday, her gilly soaked, her wrapper stained with mud. She sat across from him in the visiting room, tears running freely down her face. Tobi looked at her with tired eyes. "Mommy, I no fit sleep. Every night I daydream say them they shoot me." Mojop sobbed. "You will not die, my son. I'm doing everything I can. We are filing for an appeal." Tobi scoffed. "Appeal? With which lawyer? Everybody done run." But Mojop wasn't giving up. She sold her gold, mortgaged their family house, and even approached old friends to raise money for legal support. Her love, though blind, remained deep. But it was no longer the fierce, shielding love, it was now desperate, broken love, the kind that comes too late. At home, tension filled the air. Babatunde refused to talk to his wife. Every night, he sat by the veranda, clutching his Bible, muttering prayers under his breath. Once, Fan came home and saw her father weeping quietly. She knelt beside him. "Daddy, please. You're not alone." He looked at her with red eyes. "I warned your mother. I told her that love without discipline is destruction. Now look at what he has become." Funk nodded. "We've all lost something." Connor called from Lagos, furious. "That boy disgraced us. The Adeyemi name is now in the gutters. Mommy must face it, Tobi is gone. No amount of tears can undo this." But Mojop refused to let go. She paid for weekly visits. She brought food, prayers, even smuggled in small letters of hope. But Tobi was changing. Days passed. Then weeks. His hair grew wild. His skin paled. He stopped smiling. The street king had become a prison ghost. One day in the prison yard, an older inmate named Uncle Gok, a former church deacon arrested for fraud, approached him. "You dey restless," Gok said. Tobi looked at him. "Why you dey observe me?" "Because I see pain wey don swallow you. But even in death, you fit find peace." They became unlikely friends. Gok gave Tobi his first Bible. At first, Tobi laughed. But one night, after dreaming of being dragged into a dark pit filled with fire, he woke up trembling. He reached for the Bible. "Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow." He read it over and over, and for the first time since his arrest, Tobi wept sincerely. He cried for the woman he hurt, for his father's shame, and for his sister, Sod. Meanwhile, Sod had begun seeing a therapist. The trauma of being kidnapped by her own brother had left emotional scars. Her husband, Tund, had moved them to Port Harcourt for a fresh start. But the pain lingered. Why him? She asked her therapist one day. Why would my own brother want to harm me? The therapist answered, because he was never told no. Some children drown in the very love that was meant to protect them. Sod burst into tears. Back in prison, Tobi received news the appeal had failed. The court upheld the death sentence. He had 30 days left to live. Mojo broke down in the lawyer's office. Please, do something. Anything. The lawyer shook his head. Mama Tobi, I'm sorry. The evidence is too strong. He kidnapped, raped, murdered. The law has spoken. For the first time, Mojo did not argue. She sat quietly, her eyes vacant. That night, at home, she went into Tobi's old room. She touched his childhood drawings, his football medals, even the toy soldier he once called General Tobi. She collapsed on the bed and screamed into his pillow. I should have corrected you. I should have listened. The community that once adored the Adeyemi family now looked at them with pity. At the market, women whispered. At church, heads shook in silence. But amidst the shame, something unexpected happened. Tobi began to write letters. He wrote to his siblings, to his father, even to Sod. His words were filled with regret, with truth, and with sorrow. To Sod, he wrote, I don't deserve forgiveness, but I beg you, don't carry this bitterness forever. You were always the light in our family. I tried to snatch it away. I'm sorry. To his father, Daddy, I failed you. But I now understand what you were trying to do. Your discipline was love. I see it now. To his mother, Mommy, thank you for loving me even when I didn't deserve it. But I hope you can forgive yourself too. Some love needs boundaries. As his execution date drew near, the prison organized a final visit. All family members were invited. They arrived in silence, Funk, Colonel, Sod, even Babatunde, who hadn't stepped near a prison before. Mojab came last, dressed in all white, clutching her son's last letter. They sat in the visitation room, divided by a glass screen. Tobi walked in. Thin, pale, but peaceful. Everyone froze. Then Babatunde stood up. He placed his hand on the glass. My son. Tobi nodded, tears welling up. Daddy. I'm sorry. I forgive you, his father said. One by one, his siblings forgave him. Even Sod, with trembling lips, whispered, You broke us, but I release you. Then Mojob stood up. She didn't say much. She just pressed both hands on the glass. Fly, my son. Maybe in the next world, you'll be better. The sun rose slowly over the grey skyline of Ayatoro on the morning of Tobi Adeyemi's execution. Inside the prison walls, the air was thick with tension. Officers moved with unusual silence. Even the prisoners who used to shout and joke in the yard spoke in hushed tones. Today, someone was going to die. Tobi sat in his cell, back straight, Bible open on his lap. He had not slept. Not because of fear, but because his mind was too full. Last night, he had seen a dream, his younger self running through his childhood home in Ijibu Ode, chasing after a kite. His father was laughing, his mother standing by the kitchen window calling him to come eat. He woke up crying. At 7:30 a.m., the prison warden walked in. Adeyemi, it's time. Tobi stood up slowly. His legs felt heavy, but his heart was calm. He nodded. They allowed him one final request. He chose to speak to his father one last time, alone. Inside the small chapel, Babatunde sat, his hands shaking slightly. The moment he saw Tobi, his face crumbled. My son, he said. Tobi knelt in front of him. Daddy, I don't know what to say. Babatunde placed his hand on Tobi's head. Say nothing. You've said enough. I prayed for you, Tobi. Not that you would be spared, but that you would find peace with God. I have. The two men wept, not just for the years lost, but for the forgiveness gained too late. Outside the prison, Mojop, dressed in deep purple, sat in the family's worn-down Camry with Funk and Connor. She hadn't said a word all morning. Her eyes were swollen, her mouth dry. Her heart felt like it was hanging on a rope, swinging between love and regret. When the gate opened, she stepped out, knelt by the dusty roadside, and prayed. God, please, if there's any way, let my son's soul find light. Even if his body dies, let his soul live. Inside the execution chamber, the final procedure began. Tobi was tied to a wooden pole. 5 uniformed officers stood facing him, rifles loaded. The prison priest stood by his side. Any last words? The warden asked. Tobi took a deep breath. To every girl I hurt, I am sorry. To the people I robbed, to the lives I ruined. I can never repay you, but I beg your forgiveness. To my family, thank you for not giving up on me completely, even when I gave up on myself. And to God, I commit my soul to you. The command rang out, ready. Aim. A long pause. Fire. 5 shots rang out. The birds scattered. Somewhere in the distance, a woman screamed. Tobi's body slumped. Life left him quietly. 3 months later. Back in Ijibu Ode, life was slowly returning to normal for the Adeyemis. The family house had been renovated by Connor. Sod and her husband had come back for the unveiling of the new village library, built in memory of Tobi Adeyemi. Mojop sat on the veranda, staring into space. People still whispered in the market. But now, the whispers were mixed with pity and understanding. One afternoon, a group of teenagers from the youth fellowship came to visit her. "Ma, we heard about Tobi. We heard he gave his life to Christ before he died." Mojop nodded slowly. "Yes, he did." One of the boys asked, "What would you tell mothers like you who have stubborn children?" She looked at the boy, eyes soft but firm. "Discipline them early. Love them, yes, but with correction. Never let your emotions blind you from the truth. Love without rules is poison." Funk, now a youth counselor in Abeokuta, began running community sessions for parents, sharing the story of her brother and how her mother's blind love became a cautionary tale. She used it to help other families struggling with troubled children. Connor started a small NGO called Turn Back Initiative, focused on rescuing cult boys and street gang members from prison life. He often told Tobi's story. "Don't wait till your photo is on the prison wall before you choose peace," he would say. Sod, still healing, launched a Women's Protection Foundation. She advocated for justice for rape victims and pushed for tighter laws on court-related crimes. She was no longer just a victim, she was now a voice. But for Babatunde and Mojop, the silence in the house still echoed. One evening, as they sat together on the porch, Babatunde reached out and held his wife's hand. "You tried, Mojop. Maybe not perfectly, but you never stopped loving." She nodded, her eyes full. "But maybe I should have loved smarter. I should have stood with you when you tried to discipline him." He kissed her hand. "We did what we could. The rest is in God's hands." They sat quietly as the sun dipped below the horizon, two old lovers bound by grief, but also by growth. In every home, there is love. But when that love becomes blind, it stops being a blessing and becomes a curse. Tobi Adeyemi wasn't born a monster, he was raised without balance. And in the end, it was not his crimes alone that destroyed him, it was the silence of those who should have corrected him. Let this be a lesson: love your children, but also teach them. Because the prison gate is always open. What do you think? Could a mother's love really drive someone to the edge of destruction? If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intense, real stories like this. Drop a comment below. Let's talk about the lessons we can learn from Tobi's tragic journey. And remember, a child's future is shaped by the love and lessons they receive today. Let's break the cycle together.